We are live. Hi, Andrew. How are you?
Hi, Susie. We're live. We're ready.
Yay. So, Andrew, it's we're doing a conscious horse, conscious rider class together at the ranch, which I'm really excited about. It's our first conscious horse, conscious rider class together.
It is.
Cool.
It's our first one.
I
I thought
think
we.
so.
Oh,
I
I
have
didn't
we ever?
realize this was the first. I don't know.
I
I
think
just
so.
assumed we'd done another one, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't remember doing a conscious horse, conscious rider class with you. Obviously, we have facilitated many SE classes together. But I think this is a first. I could be wrong, but so,
Mm.
conscious horse, conscious rider. Um, it's a really, really cool class, I think, because people really get to see all the areas in their lives where things aren't working for them and how they are actually creating that, because horses, generally speaking, have a capacity to facilitate us like no other animal. Why? I don't have a good why. I think a lot of times it's also because they're big and intimidating and all that to us, as people, but also just this whole predator prey thing, and everything else that's involved with horses. But so what is it for you? Like, what has actually brought you to conscious horse, conscious rider? Because I know, you do many, many, many things also, Andrew. And I just wonder, like, what is the intriguing part about conscious horse, conscious rider for you? Uh-oh, Andrew is frozen in a very interesting pose. Hmm. Internet is not the greatest where he's at, apparently. Or um, he just is still contemplating what I was just asking him. So he's just thinking about it. Now he's gone. Okay, cool. He will come back, I'm sure. So, hey, in the meantime, to me, this class has been really like a pretty cool way to let people drop into something else. Because, when you're around a horse, you really cannot lie. You cannot pretend. You cannot be something that you not are. So the horse basically will go straight from what energy are you being, and the horse will go and basically live, well, not live by that, but the horse will only respond to that, not to anything else.
Sorry.
It's
It's
okay.
not working.
Oh,
So I heard. Am I good?
yeah.
Okay. So I heard talking about how horses facilitate you because they're big and scary, and then that's where I froze.
Ah, okay. So I was basically asking you, Andrew, what is it that brought you to this specialty? Like, what is it that intrigues you as a facilitator, or even just like doing this class? I know, you do a lot with bodies, and that is really where you are mostly playing. And then, what's with the horses?
I think it's really funny. Like what drew me to access in general is, we talk about point of view creates your reality. And sometimes it really isn't clear, like, oh, I'm the one actually creating these things, or I'm the one creating the difficulty interacting with this person, or where I'm trying to communicate with someone and they don't get it. And it's like, where I would see as like, oh, they're just not getting it or whatever. But when you do the conscious horse conscious rider thing, you see really where, because part of it is looking at giving the horse instructions and asking it to do these things. Well, if you're not energetically clear on what you're asking the horse, it just goes like it doesn't do what you want it to do. And so it's always been interesting with these classes to see how people try to get the horse to do a movement, for example. Well, they think they're being very clear, and all of a sudden the horse goes the opposite direction, or it just stops, or and like you said, the horse is big, so they can't just like yell at the horse and it's going to do anything. The horse just looks at them like, "What do you want?" And I think this class is just a really unique way of getting to see how we're not communicating in a way that actually gets the results we're looking to get.
Mm.
And I think it's cool because all of a sudden when you start working with the horse and the moment you actually start communicating clearly with the horse, all of a sudden it does it. You
Mhm.
know, and so it's just funny because so many times we're like, "Oh, this person's being difficult," or the even, like, "Oh, the horse is obviously difficult with us." But no, it's like once you communicate clearly with the horse, it just does it. And the amount of times I've seen that occur, with taking these classes or in these classes, it's really, amazing and kind of fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's really fun to see people then also kind of get it, like where it clicks all of a sudden for them. You know, they have been struggling with their work situation and with their coworkers, for example, or whatever it is. And then, and then they're approaching the horse, and the horse is pretty much just reacting the same way as they are struggling with at work.
Mhm.
Just obviously, without talking, but so, well, the horse not talking, at least not in English. So, and then they're like, oh, here I am again in this situation where, like you said, it's really great for them to see, oh, I am actually creating this. This is not something that's coming from the outside. I'm not the victim of a situation here. I'm actually creating this with the way that I'm being. Um, yeah. So horses are incredible that way. They really do not respond to weird shenanigans that we have. But they really respond to who we're being in that moment, and they will let us know very loud and clear what we're choosing. So,
Yeah, well,
yeah,
it's just I think it makes it really funny because you can see how what you're asking the horse applies to all these areas in your life. And, whether that's, you're looking to become a better rider, with the horse, or whether it's actually, what's so funny is watching everyone's people improve from the conscious horse, conscious rider class, which isn't, obviously you're like, it's about horses, it's about riding. Like, there's no improvement. Like, would people skills improve from with it? But, you know,
yeah,
when you start getting clear on what you're asking, like, all areas of your life actually get clearer.
absolutely. And and you were just mentioning, the class is not necessarily about writing. It can be like it's a possibility where you can actually improve your writing skills literally by sitting on a horse. But in this class, if you want to come to it, you do not have to have any writing skills. You don't even have to have any horse skills. This isn't really about that. It is really more, well, it can be about everything. So it can be about the writing. It can also be just about, hey, how do I be next to a horse? And the amount of people that have come to these classes that are actually afraid of horses has been incredibly high, which I always have to say, like, I take my hat off to somebody who comes to a class where it's about something where they are just mortified. So, we've had a lot of changes with that. Actually, one person, the biggest change probably from one person was to be afraid of horses to becoming now a horse trainer. So she's come a long way. But wow, so just really recognizing that sometimes you blocking out a specific animal may not even be yours, may not be something you have to hold on to. And also, once you drop that, once you let that go, your whole life can change, and everything can become easier, can, yeah, whatever, the doors can open basically from that too. So, one part of what we do in the class is called a trust exercise, where you really learn to trust yourself in a way that it's so visceral and it's so incredible that you can't but just receive. There is no way that you cannot receive. So there are certain things that we do that are really fun, in getting you to just a different place with yourself.
Awesome. I don't really know what else to say. I think, um, the other thing is, it's always nice. I'm excited to do it at the ranch again because the horses we have there are, you know I like to joke they're professional horses at this point because they've been through we've done so many classes there that the horses kinda have a different they've worked they're well worked, they know what the deal is, so yeah, they like to come and show up, and they are usually very entertaining horses. I don't know how they developed such a personality, but the horses at the Lazy Double D Ranch have that
Yeah,
personality.
totally. So yay. Any
What else?
closing thoughts here on
Oh,
I don't know,
good.
whatever. Opening thoughts. No thoughts.
Um, so I think, just in case you guys don't know, there's a Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider class Susie and I are doing at the Lazy Double D Ranch, October 8th and 9th, correct? Those are the dates. And then the 10th through the 13th, Susie and Gary Douglas are doing the Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider facilitator training. And we can post a link in the comments below so we can, link those classes if you guys want to know more about that too. And we got a
Cool.
question.
Yes.
Um, can you say more about when you use the energy, don't do something towards an animal when they do exactly that after? Are we going to be more clear about that during the classes? Yes, totally. And I learned this one from Susie. So this one blew my mind because you think it's only for animals, and I realize it applies to people too. Is so you can say don't do something, right? An animal to a person, or you could tell them a positive action. You could say, "Don't touch that," or you could say, "Oh, I like don't touch that." That's like, or you, you might not want to touch that. It's hot, But animals don't hear the don't. So if you say, "Don't bark," or "Don't," you know, my favorite is the horses when I ride them. They like to go right for the low hanging tree branches for some I'm like, "Don't walk me into tree branches." And every time I say that, then I'm like, "Oh gosh, I can't keep saying don't." I have to go, "Okay, can we go around the branches?" Or let's be clear of low hanging things. Okay. I don't know. Susie, anything you say to that?
Well, yeah, I think again, the class might give you a really clear way with that because we do some exercises where you're going to work with a horse. And if you are functioning from, oh, I don't wish for this to show up, or I don't desire that as a result, or whatever it might be, then you're energetically communicating just that. And that's really what this is based on. When you say something like, don't do that, don't touch that, all you are saying energetically is you have your focus on that object. And so you're basically saying, touch it. Because the word don't is just a language thing. We have learned that we should respond to that. We have learned that this is something we're paying attention to. But even as a child, like energetically speaking, it makes no sense. Don't touch that. Okay, what am I supposed to do instead? Like, you basically are being given a command of like, this is what you shouldn't be doing. But then, well, what do you want me to do? And I think this is where animals also get very confused when we actually don't show them what they should be doing instead. So we keep telling them what not to do, but then okay, now what? You know, so um, so you it's it's so hard for us to focus on what we actually desire in life. I know for me too, it's taken me a long time, and even like Andrew's saying, he still rides and thinks don't go in the low branches, and then like, ah, darn it, here we go again, because we have been trained for some reason to always know exactly what we don't like in life, but to actually ask for what we would like is a much harder muscle to build for us for some reason. And so, that's where this is going, is basically starting to build a muscle of looking at, oh, what is it that I actually would like from this horse? Oh, I want this horse to go around me, for example, or I want to make a left turn, or I want to turn around, or I want to switch leads, or I want to, what is it that I'm asking for? And then really looking at, okay, so communicating that rather than, oh, don't do this, so anyway, yeah.
And I think that's, kind of the same thing we were talking about earlier with people skills and stuff. You see that when you work with a horse or and then you're like, "Oh my gosh, it's just it's a really subtle difference, but actually it looks subtle, but it's not actually subtle." Like the when that changes, it's just like, "Oh my gosh," because you
Yeah,
get
it's huge.
how like once I start doing it, I look at it how once you told me that, I started looking how I engage with people to talk to them and was like, "Oh, I see why I'm having difficulty with these people because I'm the one like creating the difficulty a lot of times. Or I'm not, because the other thing, you know, what I realized with horses is you have to put it in their language. You can't expect them to do it from your language. And it's the same with people. Like even if you're speaking the same like language, sometimes they still don't get it because you're not communicating in a way that is theirs. And it's like with the horses too, that becomes really clear that you have to frame things in a way they get anything. Different horses get it different ways, which is the same people.
Yeah. And it's really kind of cool to see when you watch someone actually get that, and then you see the animal immediately responding to that immediately. And it is so cool to see that occurring in front of your eyes because especially for the person that is basically being in that situation too, because this is something you will always have with you for the rest of your life, really, in a way of like, oh, wow, okay, I saw that. And so then, next time when that energy comes up again where you're not being clear, then you will recall that and you'll be like, oh, yes, that. Okay. All right, let me change that. Let me do this in a different way. So it's really fun to see that too. Yeah. Cool. So, yeah, what else? I really enjoy also being around horses. They are just such a cool animal, and um yeah, I always just enjoy being with them. But again, you don't have to be a horse lover to come to this class. It really is not a requirement.
Mhm. Cool.
Cool.
I don't think and, oh, the other thing is I forgot to, after the conscious source, conscious writer stuff, I'm also doing an SE horse class, um, which is, if the conscious horse is looking with horses and kind of working with them, the SE horse is working on them and changing their bodies. So that's start is a 2-day class and it's the 15th and 16th of October. So the next weekend.
Yeah. So if you want to just hang out in Texas for a week, come and join us.
There you go.
There you go. Cool. Well, since we don't have any more questions, I guess that's it. Andrew, anything else?
Good to me. Hope to see you all there in October.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.